guys, and welcome back to another video on the Center Circle channel. And in today's video, as you can tell from the backgrounds, I've got my bro Rich back on the channel. Rich, how you doing, man?
Yeah. Two-time Champions League winner, five-time Premier League winners,
This is how you know.
two-time Europa League
I,
winner.
I'm introducing, I'm introducing the guest, and he's come for violence straight away.
No,
Like,
I'm just naming my accomplishments.
well, we both have accomplishments in our backgrounds anyway. So yeah, guys, as you can see from the title of the video, we're going to be focusing this video on Havertz. So as you can see, it looks like Havertz will be joining Arsenal for a bid of, they're saying it's 65 mil. And yeah, I just wanted to get an opinion on a Chelsea fan, as if to see if it was like a good way to like get Havertz off their books, or is it a good thing for Arsenal to sign him? So yeah, Rich, what are you saying about Havertz? Are you disappointed? Are you happy that he's gone? Or
Um, I'm not sad because I think it's a thing whereas in Chelsea we've had so much success in recent years that he's not a legend at the club. So I'm not sentimental, especially when it comes to Chelsea. And we did finish 12th anyway, so there's nothing to cry about. What I would say is I do think the kind of conversation about what Havertz is as a player and how good he is and stuff, I do think is massively blown out of proportion. I mean, obviously, I see a lot of people say that he's shit, he's dead food, he hasn't done anything since he came to England apart from scoring the goal in the Champions League, which I believe is not true. So, as I said, for me, is what I see Havertz is as a player, and judging by that, I do feel like he's done a good job for us. Now, obviously, it was me personally. I know it's a bit weird because the conversation's always with Havertz and Mount, and obviously we're getting rid of like the Koulibalys, Ziyech, and all those guys, which is cool. But I do feel like at minimum those guys are good enough to be squad players for us. So I would have kept them personally, but I'm not losing any tears that they're leaving. It's just one of those things.
yeah, because I know he scored like crucial goals. Like obviously he scored in the Champions League final, which obviously won your Champions League. And I think did he score in the Super Cup as well?
He got an assist in the Super Cup and he scored a win in the Club World Cup final.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So he's had moments, but he's not really had a season where, let's say, he's like contributed with like 15 goals, for example. And based on his reputation in Germany with Bayer Leverkusen and the price that you bought him from Leverkusen, you'd have thought that he'd be doing much more than what he has done for Chelsea.
But I think that's why I said it's kind of one of those things. What are the expectations people? Because obviously, for a player of his, or you say his caliber when he's playing as a striker, obviously he should get 15 goals. And I think that was my criticism of him that he's not a good finisher or he's not clinical enough. But as I said, it's what does he bring to the Chelsea team? Because I've watched Chelsea many times, whereas in everyone complains about Havertz, and then when Havertz doesn't play, we look worse. Now, this is not to say we can't sign someone to replace what he does, but I'm just saying in the current scope of the team we had now, I've seen many games that Havertz will play brilliant, will play really well, and then he wouldn't score or wouldn't get an assist. Maybe they missed his chances, or maybe he missed one chance, and then they will criticize him, and then he puts in the exact same performance the next game, and then finishes that chances, and it says, "Oh, yeah, one of the best performances that we've like." I mean, example is the two Dortmund games, the first leg and the second leg. I think in the first leg, I think Havertz played really well. I think, and there was a couple of times he slipped in João Felix, which João Felix didn't finish his chance, and people are getting onto Havertz. He put in the same performance in the reverse leg where he scores the penalty, and it's like big stage Havertz and all that kind of stuff. And one thing I would give Havertz credit for is there's always a lot of conversation about how consistent he is. When not as in big games, but when you talk about big stage games, I can't remember any game that I've come on a big stage. I feel like Havertz didn't perform, kind of thing. Like as you mentioned, the Champions League finals, the even the when Madrid knocks us out, I do feel like Madrid kind of Havertz did play really well against Madrid, even though we did lose. So as I said, I mean, you put him on a big stage where the lights are bright, I do feel like he'll perform. Now, obviously, if you want to cut in, I say one thing as well is I do feel like the Champions League goal he scored in the final one, I do feel like people use that to discredit him because a lot of people will then come to you and say, apart from that going to Champions League final, what else has he done? And I'm not sure how you're meant to answer that question because is like, do you want people to start mentioning performance against Southampton? Or is he meant to mention what other trophies he's won or what other big games he performed in? So I don't know. It's one of those things because he's had his pinnacle moment in the first season, and he might not have gone to a world class level yet, and Chelsea have been in decline. It's a bit weird as now I think people now use that goal to be like, oh, because he's scored in that thing, he hasn't done anything else kind of thing. So yeah,
Okay, that's interesting because obviously looking at Havertz at Chelsea, like I know there's people that are saying that he's been playing in like the wrong position because at Leverkusen, like he was like an attacking mid, but then when he was at Chelsea, he was playing in positions that you wouldn't have
false
expected.
line.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
false nine, up front, right wing. And the thing is, Havertz reminds me of like an Ozil. Now the reason why I say he reminds me of Ozil is because like he doesn't offer like with pace, he doesn't have much pace. Like he put like Havertz a man where he needs the ball at his feet and maybe can create. But like he's a guy, is he as agile? I don't know. And that's why I just thought,
yeah. But I think for me, it's one of the players that I'll compare, not in terms of play style, but in terms of the role within the team, is on Firmino because I feel like the same kind of conversations were had around Firmino back in the day, whereas in me personally, I remember I think around the 2017 season where Aubameyang was still bagging goals, and I was trying to tell people, in my opinion, I felt like Firmino was world class and could possibly be better than Aubameyang, but then Firmino wasn't scoring as many goals, so I feel like people didn't see the value that he brought, and I feel like you're gonna have Havertz and you're gonna put him in the false nine role. It was a thing where you needed goal scoring wingers on your team, which is why I was never against the sign of Sterling because Sterling is seen as a goal scoring winger, scored over 100 Premier League goals. But then he comes in and he seems to get out to dribble. And the time Potter's playing at wing back, who does that help? So it's one of those things as in, yes, if you're going to play Havertz as a striker, he's going to have to score more goals because if you're going to play there and you play there consistently, he needs to get better. But I say it's one of those things. I do feel like he's very good with like he holds up the ball. I feel like technically he's very good in tight spaces, and then he's able to slip a runner in when they're going in behind. And then if those guys finish the chances, his assists will look a lot better and all that kind of thing. So that's why I keep going back to the point of I feel like the expectations people have of Havertz is wild. So when he doesn't meet those wild expectations, is when they start saying he's shit, he's a flop, and all those kind of things.
hmm, okay, that's interesting. So, because like him coming to Arsenal, like the reason why I'm trying to understand like how he fits in, one, he's 65 million pound, and in my eyes, he doesn't start. So I'm thinking to myself, is this going to be 65 million pound player sitting on the bench and only gets games when we maybe get towards like Champions League, for example? So like Odegaard is more like Odegaard's our captain. So
Yeah.
the only time I see Havertz coming into play is if we're like 2-3-0 up and he needs to rest Odegaard and Havertz will come on. Or we've got a Champions League game, he'd play Havertz in the Premier League games to rest Odegaard, for example. So
Yeah.
and that's why I'm skeptical what Havertz will bring to Arsenal. Like people say he's prem proven, but I'm trying to work out what he's done in the prem for me to say he's prem proven. Like,
No, I mean,
yeah.
but so the thing is, when you say proven I said it depends on because now I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that he's been world class and all that kind of stuff. But if I also take his like for example, so he's been here for 3 years. I'll
Mm,
say in the first year, I felt like he was decent. I feel like he had a slow start to the season. Then he started picking up pace, and then he had COVID, which stopped his form. And then I felt like towards, especially when Tuchel came in, he picked up pace towards the end of the season. Then not the season that just passed, the season before that. The numbers might not show, but I felt like Havertz was really good. Like I was really impressed with the work that he was able to do for us. Now, last season, I do feel like he took a drop back, but then it was the whole team. In terms of where he fits then with Arsenal, I, I kind of agree with you because in terms of the fit is a bit weird because I don't think you're dropping Jesus for him, and at the same time you're not dropping Odegaard for him. So the only place that's left is the other eight position. With Havertz, I feel like the further you take him away from the goal, the worse he becomes. So there's only now this is the criticism I say of Havertz. I feel like he's a bit limited in where he can play because you're not having him as a winger because one is you're not dropping Saka or Martinelli for him. I mean, he can do a job there.
and the thing is, even
But
if we do drop Sacco Martinelli, we're not going to put him there because that's not his good. That's not a good position for him.
yeah,
So
I mean, that's what I say. He can do a decent job there, but I prefer him like free roam. So like when you're
yeah,
playing on the left, because he's not gonna be like a Hazard type of winger, whereas in he's able to roam on the inside. And as I said, Odegaard already takes the already attacking eight position. So and you guys don't play with a 10 like that. So is it a thing whereas in does he play that Shaka role or does he change his tactics a bit? Because I think another thing to look at is who you're gonna play as the number six. There's rumors of Partey going and all that kind of stuff. Because you start getting someone like a Casado, Declan Rice. I feel like Declan Rice wants to be a bit more attacking anyway. So, which if you have, for example, Shaka there, Shaka is a lot more defensive minded than Havertz would be. So, if Rice wants to go and do those long runs that sometimes he does for West Ham, you have at least someone that, even though he's leaving Shaka, that will hold back. You start putting Havertz in that position. Havertz is already going to be near the box anyways. So he's the defensive cover. So it's a bit weird in terms of
Yeah.
where he fits for Arsenal and stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. So one of the questions before I was thinking about how I was going to do this video, I was going to ask you like, what would you rate Havertz at Chelsea out of 10?
Um, in my opinion, I'll say 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah.
So in my
I,
eyes, that's just about that's average.
well, so you can say average is 6. I'll say he's been above average. I think because see, I think it's closer to 7 because one thing I would say is that at the end of the day, he did win 3 trophies with us. Now, I'm not gonna come and tell you that he's better than Saka anything. But one thing I like to put a big thing is winning. Like you look at someone like Harry Kane. Like I'm not even going to use Saka because Saka is a young player, but I'm going to say someone like Harry Kane, for example. Like if you ask 100 people who's better between Havertz or Harry Kane, I think 10 people say Harry Kane. But I think one thing that Havertz has shown me, especially this time in with Chelsea, is somebody that knows how to win, and it's actually a big intangible to have because there's some players that are losers and there's some players that are winners. And I feel like you give Havertz an opportunity to win, more times out of 10, he will take it. I mean, if I look at especially the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup final back in 21, the best player on the pitch on both of those games was Havertz. In like on both Liverpool and Chelsea, I think Havertz was exceptional in both cup finals. It was just that Mason Mount and Pulisic were doing whatever they did, and you know what happened in the penalty shootouts. So as I said, and that's why I would always favor more to he's been good than bad because at the end of the day, that Champions League that we won is one thing that's keeping Chelsea going because if we don't win that Champions League, it then becomes since for the past 6 years, all we've won is one FA Cup. But Havertz helping us win that thing, then helps us go to win the Super Cup, then helps us go and win the Club World Cup, and then we've got more credit in the bank. So I would say between I'll say 6.5. I think 7 means he's been good. I don't know, because then 8 is world class and he's not been world class for us. Like, I'm not even gonna
Yeah,
lie to you.
what to
But
say?
I'll say around 6.5.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, second question I'll ask you is you guys bought Havertz from Leverkusen, I think it was like 90 million, I think. Do you think
H.
65 million is a good deal for Chelsea or for Arsenal?
Um,
Because personally, I think it's a good deal for Chelsea, and I think we're overpaying personally.
yeah. No, well, I was obviously I was bantering with a couple of my friends and saying 80 million or nothing. But I would say is
80 mil.
you best bring it. The Champions League doesn't come cheap, by the way. That Champions League doesn't
Oh,
come cheap. But I would say it's a thing where it's in if if the reports are true that Havertz really wanted to leave, which I believe it is, because obviously we all know Mason Mount wants to leave, but the reports weren't really that strong on Havertz till the Arsenal rumors came around. So I'll say 65 million is a good deal for both parties. I mean, you got to remember Havertz is still like what 23 years of age.
that
You're,
is
you're not
true.
just playing. You're not just playing for the player he is now. You're playing for potential, which I still believe Havertz upside is still really high. So it's one of those things. As in, you're not. I think it's a decent deal for both parties. And Chelsea still had to recoup the money they spent on him, so you can't go too cheap. Like it's very rare that a player signs for 100 million and the next time he goes all the way down to 40 million or whatnot. So there still has to be
And it's yeah.
level.
And it's to like a London club as well. Because the
Yeah,
way I'm looking at Havertz, I'm thinking, could he go down the same path as Pepe? Even apart from the fact that Havertz has been in the Prem for a good while now, like for
no,
three
wait.
years. So like
But Havertz has done something in this league.
yeah, not even the league, I'd say you more in Europe than the league, should I say? But
Yeah.
like I don't even know like Havertz's stats, but like I don't even know if he scored like maybe he scored 10 Premier League goals in the season, but like 15, I'm not even sure. But
They hasn't reached 15. But as I said, he's not a goal scorer, and it's why I went back to the point of comparing him to Firmino. Because when you look at the front three of Salah, Mane, and Firmino, it was always a thing. Whereas in Firmino was always the one that was dropping the deepest to help facilitate Salah and Mane, which is why the times Klopp decided to go to the 4-2-3-1, it was Firmino playing as the number 10 and Salah playing as the striker, which I believe it would have been a similar case of if we were playing 4-2-3-1. I don't think Havertz would have been our striker. But if you're not playing with number 10, the false nine position is the next best place for him. So it's just one of those things. But then we have not been clinical enough on the wings. Like Sterling wasn't scoring enough goals. Ziyech, he's not a goal scorer anyways. Werner, he should have been that guy, but he wasn't.
he wasn't.
So yeah. And then we signed Nkunku as well. So is Nkunku and Havertz kind of seem to take up the same position. I'm not sure Havertz want to be back up to anyone.
That's interesting. Okay, well, Rich, thanks a lot, man, for giving a bit of insight into Havertz on a Chelsea perspective. I mean, in my humble opinion, I'm not sure. But as I
That's
said,
the Champions League doesn't come cheap. So
but like I said, like people are saying, oh, you have to trust Arteta with this signing. Like he's got most of the signings right, but yeah, if you know me, I'm not. I'm just not sure. And yeah, even when the
so
season
just look
started,
at my background. Arteta's finding the Champions League and he wants to win it. What better player to go
listen,
someone against someone that knows how to do it?
the only way I'll forgive Havertz is if he fires us to league title. That's it. That's
What will you forgive him?
yeah, he'll be forgiven. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. Rich, thank you for coming on the channel, bro. Much appreciated.
No
Um,
worries.
if you are new to the channel, guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. What do you think about the Havertz signing? Do you think it's done good for Chelsea or it's done good for Arsenal? But yeah, let me know down in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon.
Super goal. Gone to McAllister. What a strike! And Salah's wriggling in and scoring. This is Stuart Dallas.